When HAVN reached out to sponsor this video, they had my curiosity. But when they told me it was to check out their new premium mid-tower case, the HS 420, they had my attention. Oh my God, because this thing is sick. Oh my God, it's so heavy. Ah. Before we take a look at the case, let's see what comes in the box. We've got our HS 420 user guide. We've got what looks to be an accessory box. It says start here. So I probably should have started there. I'm starting there now. Accessory kit, yes, very good. What else we got? We got some drive sleds. Actually, I'm not sure what this is. We've got a bunch of zip ties and screws, Velcro strap. We have some little, what are these, cable holders? Little cable combs, very nice. And then, oh wow, they gave us gloves. I've unboxed a lot of cases, both at work and at home, and I have never once seen a pair of gloves included. These guys, they really want you to be safe while you're building. I'm not gonna say they're like the nicest gloves I've ever put on, but you know, I'm sure they do whatever they're supposed to do. We've got this cool little thank you card from the HAVN team. They're a new company that are made up of members from other case manufacturers that you've probably heard of, like Fractal, NZXT, Cooler Master, and you know, it's their first product. We're not sure how it's gonna go, but it looks, frankly, pretty good. They've got this beautiful single pane curved glass piece right here so that you're not gonna get anything in the way of looking at your beautiful build as you put it into your case. They call it their Unisheet heat form panoramic glass, and it's supposed to be flatter and got a tighter curve radius on here. I don't know how necessary it was, but it's cool. Now you might be thinking to yourself, that's not a mesh front. I want a mesh front panel for airflow. Well, you've got a bunch of that down here. This is all opened up for their nice bottom intake. Because as you can see, we've got 3 big 140mm fan mounts down here, normally flat, but we've got the vGPU kit version, which is a bit more expensive. We'll talk about price later, but that's angled up to better kind of push the air up so that you can get it into your vertically mounted GPU. There is a nice, oh, that's actually really easy to take out. There's a really nice filter here, but I don't understand why they can't add another small grate just on the bottom. I would kind of like that personally so that it doesn't even get into here. But you know what? I think it's gonna do just fine in terms of airflow, at least, because the top is also very ventilated. It's also got a ton of ventilation on the back side panel, as well as another big hole along the bottom in the front. As for the top I/O, it's got a really satisfying power button click, as well as 2 USB Type A ports, 1 Type C port, and an audio jack. And the best part is, you see this strap? That's not for carrying it. It's way too heavy for that. It's to just lift the whole top off like this. So it's super easy to work in, and then we can still take both side panels off. Now it ships with 2 screws installed onto either panel, but if we take those off, it should be held in place magnetically. Oh, is there 1 more screw? And once you've got all the screws out, it's actually held in place pretty nicely with some magnets. So if you do want easy access, but still, you know, kind of held together, just don't put those screws back in when you're reassembling it, and it should be okay. Yeah, it just lifts up. That was easy. One thing I actually didn't notice until just now is it's got this really nice HAVN logo on the back here. It's beautiful. Is there a front logo? Wow, actually there's like no front logo. Grip here when removing panel. Okay, so they give you some little instructions for that. Warning, watch your hands and fingers. That's what the gloves are for. Handle with care. Okay, so this one will come off the back, no problem. Oh, I used where the circles are and it was no problem. So look, we're just gonna lift and pull. How? Oh, okay. I'll admit, I'm terrified of breaking this. There's something about curved glass that just makes me think it's even more fragile than your standard panel. But like, now that I've got pretty much everything off, this is gonna be so incredibly easy to build in, like probably one of the easiest cases I've ever built in my entire life. And it looks like if you don't want even more obstructions, you can take it off. You can take this, what looks to be a rad mounting or fan mounting rack. One minor complaint I have, oh no, I don't even have that complaint because it's just all the sides are off. I was gonna be like, there's no screen on the fan, but like, there is, it's just not on right now. And then if you wanna get even more stuff out of the way, you just take out these 2 screws, which are held in by these nice little rubber mounts, which is good because this is gonna vibrate because it's probably for your radiator or fans. And then you pull it forward and just lift it out just like that. even easier. Now I can really get my whole hand into this thing. Or this way, or this way, or this way, or this way. Like, you're just never gonna have a problem. There's also more of them. If you look at this rear fan mount here, these are all set up with that same kind of vibration dampening rubber. This thing is also able to fit 11 140 millimeter fans, which is a lot of airflow. And if that's not enough airflow for you and you want some water cooling in here, it can do 3 420 millimeter rads. That's one here if you're not using the vertical mount, because this is normally flat. This is an extra that we've got. And then one on what I'm guessing is the side back here after I get rid of this vGPU kit. One moment, please. We've got a bunch of handily labeled storage bays back here, but if you take a look on their website, it can confirm that this is supposed to be where the third mounting position for a 420 millimeter rad goes. Like, I know this is sponsored, but I gotta appreciate that these are all marked like storage, and there's more labels. That's not the only one. Recommended for top fan cables. They've got little recommendations for how to route your cables. On the back here, recommended for 4x4 pin cables for your EPS connectors for your CPU. Recommended for the 24 pin. Like, it's just got everything you could like want if you've never built a computer before and you don't know where to route all these cables. They call it their SimpliCable routing system, and it should offer you a pretty, discreet and tidy cable management system. I like it. It's got Velcro straps basically everywhere you could want. It's got a bunch of huge cable channels that are all clearly labeled, like I said. Then you've also got these, like, I have never seen rubber grommets done like this before, and it also really explains that box of cable combs that I found earlier. You put them on here, and then you run your cables through here, and then you run the combs down through here, so you can kind of really separate everything and keep it nice and clean and tidy. The problem with those big open grommets that I genuinely love, because I think it's better than having an empty hole, is they get kind of bunched up and you can't really control the cables within the grommets. Whereas this, it should be easy enough to just like put a cable there, put a cable comb, put another cable up there, put another cable comb, just to make sure nothing ever gets moved around. So your cables are always looking pristine. They're right where you want them to be. Who can hate that? This thing also has a bunch of fan hubs, if you haven't noticed. I mean, by a bunch, I mean 2, but like, we've got one here, which has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fans. That's pretty good. And then there was right down here. Then we've got another one down here for even more fans. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So even though this thing only holds 11 fans, they've got 12 headers. That's extra fans. Just throw them in there. This thing is super customizable. I love it. We're gonna take the storage out so that you can fit whatever you want. Maybe a 420 millimeter rad, or even a VESA mount. I really like this case. I am so sold on this. Even just this like drive sled caddy thing, this is great. I've never needed to move 8 drives at once before, but if I had to, now I can. That thing we had earlier is a VESA mount, turns out, and it can go kind of like this, so that you can just mount a screen back here. That's sick. I can do whatever I want. All right, now that we've got this sucker taken apart, it's time to put a computer in it. One moment, please. We're done. Well, mostly. The cable management, while the system in the case is actually great, managing this many fans and this much stuff is just gonna take you quite a while. I'm sure it looks beautiful when it's actually properly cable managed. But if you don't want to cable manage because you're lazy, or like me, you just don't have the time for it, this was pretty easy to stuff everything in and just shut the case. And instead of using the magnets, I screwed it down. And look, it's closed, it's running, we're good to go. Another thing, the rubber grommets, while I do love the look of it, and I love the idea of like actually organizing and managing everything perfectly, without planning, you're gonna end up with a lot of instances where you're like, I think I want it in the second slot and down here. And then you're gonna do your cable runs and realize, oh no, it doesn't work there. I've gotta move it over a slot. And then that requires, instead of just kind of, with the big open grommets, it's really easy to just move stuff around. Don't get me wrong, it looks amazing, but that takes some time. The sound dampening screws for the case fans, it was a little annoying if you're using 140 fans to actually get the plates off and then screw everything in without issue. For instance, because it's a plastic screw going into a rubber grommet, I broke one of them. I just screwed it down a little too much. I thought I had some more room, and no, I was cracking the plastic. It was already seated, so don't be like me. All the rest of them went in fine. No more broke, but definitely broke the first one. The vertical mount looks great. It really does. But without some proper planning, you might run into issues where you've got to take it out and adjust something. For example, I didn't do the bottom fan, and you've got to actually take this bracket off if you want to put a 140 in, and you can't reach that unless you're going through the vertical GPU mount. That being said, if you don't get the vertical GPU mount, it's going to be a pretty reasonable price at $200. It's also going to come with probably one of the most stylish GPU anti-sag brackets I've ever seen. It actually looks pretty good, and I kind of wanted to do that version today, but we got the vertical one, which retails for $270. It's on the pricey side, I'm not going to deny that, but the fact that it comes with a PCIe Gen 5 riser, it comes with the mounting hardware for the vertical mount, it's got this really cool curved glass. The power supply is in its own like second chamber, so there's no air being shared between the power supply intake, and like the GPU is just getting everything from in here on the bottom, feeding up to here into the back. Like it's good, but I'm out of time and I need help. Reece!
Plouffe was too lazy to do his own cable management, so they sent me in. I'm Reece, nice to meet you. Let me show you the back here. These channels here are very handy. They just kind of fit in the channels and it was very nice. These pass-throughs are quite nice. They normally with like the grommet style, you only have one entry, one exit. So all the cores kind of pile up at the bottom in one corner. But with these, as you can see, you can kind of spread them out, make them all nice. And I think it just looks so much better. Compared to like other full-size cases that I built in the past, I feel like this, it's so much better for cable organization. If I was to give this case a rating, I would probably give it like a 9 out of 10. It's pretty good. I'm not usually a full-size case person. I prefer ITX, smaller cases. But if I was gonna go full-size, this would definitely be a contender. All right, that's it. That's it for my thoughts. Back to that lazy Plouffe.
Thanks again, HAVN, for sponsoring this video. What do you guys think? Would you buy it? The HS420? You want to take the time to cable manage and make it look super pretty with this sick curved glass? Let us know in the comments.